So, hello, my name is Ryan Greaser, and today I'm the proud host of the first episode of the SIUC Eclipse, which is produced by SIU students exclusively. Today on our show we have Dr. Cori Brevik, who is a physics professor here at SIU, and Cori's just going to tell us a little bit about what she does and why she enjoys eclipses in space. So Cori, can you just introduce yourself for us?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So my name is Dr. Cori Brevik. I am an assistant professor of practice at Southern Illinois University, and I'm with the School of Physics and Applied Physics.
All right, and so Cori, what do you do over at Physics and Applied Physics?
So I teach astronomy and physics, and then I'm part of a group that is doing a lot of space science related research, and right now we're really focused on eclipses and heliophysics, so all things sun related.
All right, so eclipses. Obviously in Carbondale we're extremely lucky to have had one about 6 years ago now, and then we'll have one in the upcoming spring. That's the whole purpose of this show and the class. But can you just kind of preview a little of what is going to happen in the spring?
Sure. So on April 8th of this coming year, the moon is going to move directly in front of the sun, and it will, from our perspective, it will completely block the view of the sun. So for 4 minutes and 9 seconds, anybody in that path will not be able to see the sun, but you'll be able to see the atmosphere of the sun around it, which is pretty cool because the corona is always there, but it's not very bright. And so the brightness of the main body of the sun just blocks out the corona. When the sun is blocked, all of a sudden this huge atmosphere shows up. So we'll get that. And then because the sun's blocked, it's going to get dark. And for anybody who was here in 2017, it's going to get darker this time because the eclipse is longer. The temperatures will drop. All the stars will come out. You'll be able to see planets. And then all the insects and animals will start their nighttime behavior. So the birds will chirp and the insects will start doing their nocturnal behavior. It's a really multi-sensory event.
So, as you say, it's multisensory. We're obviously seeing, we're feeling. What is the most, difficult thing to perceive during an eclipse, if there is such a thing?
So I think that one of the cool things about the eclipse is that everybody's going to have their own personal experience. It's a very spiritual time for some people. There's a moment when you realize that we're part of something much, much larger. There's a lot of things going on that we just get to observe. One of the amazing fun things here in Carbondale is because we're having a huge event on campus. While it can be a very personal event, it's also going to be a group community event because we're going to have a bunch of people together in the stadium. We're going to have the band, we're going to have the cheerleaders, we're going to have NASA on site, we're going to have researchers on site, we're going to have school kids on site. Adler Planetarium's going to be here, and so it's also a community experience. And so there's another layer of excitement about being in part of a community that's experiencing something so amazing at the same time.
And so as a part of the science community, obviously this is a big deal for everybody to be coming to Carbondale. And so this is our second time in totality. But what really makes Carbondale stand out among all the places that people could gather?
So I think we've got several really great things going for us. Because we were lucky enough to get 2017's eclipse also, we've got a lot of experience. So it helps us with our planning. We're really prepared for what's coming this time. We were really prepared in 2017 too, but we get a whole nother take on it.
Right.
So we have a very guided experience for people who want to, I want to see the eclipse, but I don't really know what to expect. Our stadium show is going to be a guided event. So we will have people who will be walking you through. Look here, watch for that. Pay attention, this is coming. So you don't need to know what to do. Just come, enjoy, and we'll walk you through it as it happens. We also have a whole entire series of other related events going on campus. We have an arts and crafts festival. We have an astronomy, science, and technology expo. We've got a Comic-Con. We've got concerts. So you can actually come and spend the entire weekend if you want. We've got all sorts of family-related events happening. On the other side of that, because it's a campus, the students are planning all sorts of really fun things. So it's going to be an entire weekend of neat, fun, interactive activities that end with this total solar eclipse. And then we have 4 minutes and 9 seconds of totality. So that's a lot. They can be longer, but a lot of them are much shorter. So for people who are doing research, this is a great place to come with their research because we can make room for them on campus to set up their research projects. They're going to have a significant amount of time for totality to collect data. And I mean, our campus is beautiful, right? Like we have the most amazing campus. So for people who need green space, we've got green space. We can find a spot for anybody.
And so, especially speaking to research, are you working on any of your own related to the eclipse right now?
Yeah, so the solar science group that I'm a part of, we actually have multiple grants going that mostly are NASA or NSF funded. We have the Dynamic Eclipse Broadcast Initiative, or DEB for short, and that particular project is led by Matt Penn and Bob Baer. And that project, we're setting telescopes across the entire country. So, and really across the continent. So we have telescopes in Mexico, all across the US and up into Canada, both inside and outside the path of totality. So we're interested in like the little behaviors that come off the sun's surface and then into the atmosphere. And normally you can't see those, right? Because you can't see the atmosphere because the sun is or the brightness of the sun is blocking it. So we can image those, but then the teams that are out of the path of totality will be imaging the surface at the same time. So we'll be able to track these behaviors as they move like from one layer to the next. And that's the fun thing with that is it's all citizen science groups. So these are classes of high school and middle school kids. It's colleges, it's amateur astronomy groups. It's anybody who thought, ooh, that sounds like fun. Count me in. And we'll be spread all across the country. And at the same time, they're broadcasting. That's the Dynamic Eclipse broadcast part. So we'll be sending out live streams of the eclipse as it occurs all across the country. So that's one out of multiple projects we have going.
Are you able to share anything from the other projects, or are they like?
Yeah, no. So we also are involved in a project called SolarSTEAM. And SolarSTEAM is a NASA-funded initiative focused on heliophysics in general. So an eclipse is a very small part of heliophysics. And so there's actually some really exciting things happening. Starting this month, so starting in October all the way through December of 2024 is technically the heliophysics big year. So scientists like to label years every so often as the big year of something, and then we really focus on that. And this is the heliophysics big year for a variety of reasons, right? We had 2 eclipses in that time period. So we just finished the annular, and then the total will be next spring. The sun is also approaching solar maximum. And so our sun goes through an 11-year cycle where it's super active, and then it's very quiet. And then it's super active. And when it reaches what we call solar maximum, when it's really active, there's lots of sunspots. There's lots of prominences, the arcs that you see. There's more flares, which means on the Earth, we get more aurora, we get more interaction with particles coming from space, and solar maximum is about to start. So we have 2 eclipses, solar maximum, which is going to make the eclipse really cool because there'll be a lot more like sunspots and activity on the sun.
Cool.
And then there's currently a spacecraft in orbit around the sun called Parker Solar Probe, and it's going to make its closest approach Christmas of 2024. So, and it's getting stupid close to the sun. Like, I mean, it is the closest we've ever been, which is amazing engineering on the job of the Parker team because it's not really a very hospitable place to be. So we've got all these really neat sun-related things coming up that the science community is very excited. So SolarSTEAM is focused on a lot of this like heliophysics big year activities and the research involved with that. And that is a collection of a whole bunch of groups who are all working together to promote heliophysics. And then we have a project called REAL, which is a more education-focused project. The goal of that one is to take and create an opportunity for schools that are not in the path of totality for their students to be able to experience the total solar eclipse. So we'll be putting a lot of information online so that they can access that information before the eclipse to get their students ready. But then we're going to be doing live broadcasting with them and a lot of like live interactions to try to give their students as close to the real experience as we can get them, even though they can't be in the path. Because it's unfortunate. I mean, in the perfect world, every school would bust their kids into the path of totality. Mm-hmm. But not every school can afford to do that.
Yeah.
And some of them are closer than others. And so for some of them, it would be a major undertaking. And so we would like to provide an opportunity for them to see it, because the next total solar eclipse that goes across the U.S. is not for 21 years. So if they don't get to see this one, they'll be watching the next eclipse with their own kids. So we want to be able to have as many people as possible experience this.
Yeah, for sure. That's a huge reason. I mean, you said it was like a big community thing, and the more you can grow that community is just huge.
And it's hard to explain to someone who hasn't seen a total solar eclipse just how amazing it is. Like, you've got to just get out there and view it, because once you've seen it, you're like, oh, I get it, right? Like, it is truly amazing. And you can travel to them. They happen every couple years, but you have to, in most times, you have to go somewhere. So we took a group of students and went to Australia last year to see the total eclipse down there, but it's not very often they come to you. And it's super not very often that you get two within a 10-year time span. Like, Southern Illinois is really special.
And so this is about the last thing we got time for, but I want to talk a little bit more about like what specifically you do and how you ended up with an interest in physics and in astronomy.
So when I was in grade school, my teacher took us to the planetarium, and we got to like see a planetarium show, and I was enthralled. I was all in. So in general, I'm a science educator. I teach, and I love teaching. And then I also do research. And so I'm the lead PI on the REAL project. So that's one of the things we're working on. And then I'm involved in a lot of these other projects. So I teach, I research, and then I lead study abroad trips to eclipses. So if anybody wants to go to an international eclipse, Southern Illinois is the place. In 2 years, we'll be going to Spain. There's a total solar eclipse during the summer in Spain. The year after that, we'll be going to Africa for a total solar eclipse. So
wow.
There are opportunities for students to study abroad, do a short, 2-week trip, see a total solar eclipse, and check out the world.
Does a student have to be like an astronomy or physics student?
Absolutely
to do that?
not. When we went to Australia, we took 8 students, and one of them was a physics major, and none of the rest were. We took a finance major, a social studies major, a social work major, right? Like, anybody's welcome to come, because everybody can enjoy the eclipse. And no matter where we go, there's amazing things to see.
All right. Well, Dr. Brevik, I thank you a whole lot for your time. You've provided a lot of insight. I did not know there were that many projects going on.
Yeah, we've got a lot happening here. It's very exciting.
Very exciting. And I just thank you for taking the time to be on the very first episode of SIUC Eclipse.
My pleasure.
All right. We thank you.